Hey, Richard Bryce here, Tennis Hacker. In this video, I'm going to explain the secret to developing drastically better footwork. Footwork is one of the biggest things that holds most players back, and the reason for that is there is something that nobody knows about, that if you implement this secret, you are guaranteed to develop better footwork, and it's guaranteed to make you into a better tennis player. Are you ready for it? The secret is you need to practice your footwork. You need to actually work on it. When you talk to players and you ask them, you know, what do you need to do? Oh, I really need to improve my footwork. And okay. Do you practice your footwork? No. If you want to improve something, you have to practice it and you have to work on it. You're not going to be able to watch a video on footwork or just think about your footwork at home, and then when you step out on court, someone hits you a wide forehand and bam, you can just get out there and just use amazing footwork, or you get a short forehand and you can just set up. You're suddenly going to have Djokovic or Swiatek's feet. It doesn't work like that. If you want to improve your footwork, you have to spend time practicing on it. And this is something that very few players do. Well, very few kind of club and intermediate players do. When you watch high-level juniors, professionals, they all work on their footwork. They all work on it because it's so important. But for some reason, it's very hard to get adults to embrace the idea. So what I want to do in this video is just very quickly explain how to go about practicing and working on your footwork. And hopefully you'll find it helpful. If you do, give me that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, also much appreciated if you could do that as well. So what I'm not going to do in this video is break down all of the individual footwork patterns and steps and teach you how to do them, because if I did that, the video would be ridiculously long. Instead, what I've done is created a free program, a free footwork program to show you how to do all of the different footwork steps. So I'll place a link to the free program up there, and I'll place a link to the free program down in the description so you can join the free program, start working on it. What I want to do here is focus on how to actually practice your footwork. So I'm going to explain the massively unsexy, but although unsexy, extremely important pieces that you need to know and understand if you want to develop better footwork. Because when you're practicing something, you have to go through different phases of learning. One of the big frustrations that a lot of players have, even when they do start working on footwork, is they work on it a little bit and then they go out and they try and practice and they play points and play matches, and they're trying to think about their feet, and because they're thinking about their feet, it really puts them off, and then they can't hit the ball in the way that they want, and they get frustrated and they think that working on footwork doesn't work. Well, what you need to understand is that there are different phases and stages of learning that you have to go through before you're going to be able to execute something properly in a point and a match situation. So it starts out with a conscious stage of learning. So in the conscious stage of learning, you have to really think about what you're doing. So say I'm learning to hit a wide forehand. So I'm thinking about a specific footwork pattern. I'm going to be doing a split step, obviously. I'm going to do a drop step, which is where the foot comes underneath the body. As that happens, you're generally doing a unit turn, but we drop the foot underneath the body so then we can push off quickly out to the side. So you're practicing that and then that. And then as you get out there, you're thinking about doing a mogul step. So for the mogul step, I'm driving through my hip and I'm stepping across my body, landing on the outside leg, and then pushing back and recovering. So maybe that's the footwork pattern that you're working on. At the start, you have to think about all those pieces. So you have to think about the split step, you have to think about dropping the foot underneath and doing that. And for a lot of players, that can be confusing. I've seen players really struggle to coordinate this movement. And if you struggle to coordinate that movement, you have to do it lots of times, over and over again. So you just practice standing there at home and just doing this. Just over and over again until you can do this bit and feel more comfortable with it, and you don't have to think about it as much. And then the next piece, you add in the crossover step to get you out to the ball. So maybe you have to break it down each time and practice that, and then hopefully after doing that a series of times, you can start to flow out and do it automatically, and you just get repetitions doing that. And then when you're more comfortable with that, then you start to add in the final piece, which is, okay, now we're going to add in the swing steps. So what we do on contact, you practice driving through the hip and doing the shadow swing with the footwork. And then you put all those bits together and you practice them. And you start in that conscious stage of learning where you're really thinking about it. And as you go through, you now go into the associative stage of learning and it starts to be more familiar. And you basically have to get through to the automatic, autonomous stage of learning where you've done lots of repetitions and now you can just do it automatically. And that can take quite a few repetitions. So what I recommend is you start out just kind of working on the individual footwork patterns, get a reasonable level of competency, and then from there start to work on the specific shot that you're doing. So you practice the footwork patterns and then practice the shot. So here, if I'm working on the wide forehand, if you've got a ball machine or access to someone to feed you the ball, then you can set up a specific scenario where you're practicing the wide forehand footwork over and over again. So I've done it at home and now I'm just practicing that. If you're not fortunate enough to have a ball machine or access to someone that can feed you, what you have to do is make a point to do it within your practice situation when you're just kind of free rallying with people. So you can't work on everything all at once. If you've identified, I want to work on this wide forehand footwork pattern, you're just concentrating so that when you're in your practice session with your friend or your partner, as soon as you get that wide forehand, then you try and implement the correct footwork. And that's really the best way to go about improving your footwork, is kind of bit by bit. Identify the one or maybe two footwork patterns that you need to focus on, because you have to get enough repetitions until you feel more comfortable with it. Work on that one or two footwork patterns, become more comfortable, then incorporate it within match and point play, and then move on to the next footwork pattern. Okay, so hopefully that made sense and it's been useful to you. The secret is really about prioritizing your time and working on what you need to work on. So if you know that footwork is holding you back in tennis, you have to prioritize working on your footwork. And when you speak to a lot of players, they're like, I haven't got time to work on this. But when you actually break down what they do with their day, they spend half an hour scrolling on social media, another 2 hours watching YouTube videos about the latest tips and tricks in tennis every night. If you spend a fraction of that time programming in specific footwork patterns each day, it won't take long before it makes a massive difference in your game. It is just about creating and prioritizing and spending the time wisely. Okay, hopefully this has been useful. I'll catch you next time.